An enlarged prostate, while not life-threatening, can definitely become an annoying part of your life. While an enlarged prostate doesn't always mean that prostate cancer is next, you still should be vigilant if symptoms of an enlarged prostate, like being unable to urinate without significant effort, begin to form. Many people don't even consider it, but your diet can play a big role in whether or not your prostate runs smoothly. And there are definitely some foods to avoid with enlarged prostate. That's why today we are going to be diving into detail about some of these foods, describing why they are bad for people with prostate issues, and even what you should try to switch to instead. With all that in mind, here are 10 foods to avoid with an enlarged prostate. Number 1. Processed sugar. Research has shown that people with high blood sugar levels also tend to suffer from an enlarged prostate more than the average person. More than that, though, is a pretty startling statistic that researchers found. They discovered that sugars, and to be specific, this refers to only processed sugars, contribute to prostate inflammation levels, and that continued sugar intake would only enlarge the prostate more. Processed sugars are one of the bad foods for prostate enlargement, since the sugar causes inflammation in your body to increase, which is the opposite of what you want when you are worried about the size of your prostate. Processed sugars have often been closely related to weight gain in years past, and so there are multiple reasons why sugar may be hurting your overall quality of life. Number 2. Spicy foods. Next up on our list is spicy food, which, while being fun, can also unintentionally lead to some prostate issues down the road. Whether you are trying to avoid suffering from an enlarged prostate to begin with, or you are trying to minimize the effects of it, you should probably stay far away from spicy food, since it can cause your body a great deal of inflammation when it enters your digestive system. Our bodies can sometimes struggle to digest these kinds of foods, which is why spicy food can be troublesome for many people. When you consume food with a lot of spice, your body can experience quite a bit of inflammation in the process, which can strike in the prostate region as well. Avoiding spicy food is, as of now, the only way to properly prevent any irritation from forming. So if you already have an enlarged prostate, staying away from hot stuff might be the best course of action for you. Number 3. Dairy. Another food to avoid if you suffer from any prostate issues like prostate cancer or BPH is dairy. For those of you wondering, BPH stands for benign prostatic hyperplasia and is basically just the word for when your prostate begins to grow. While it would probably seem like a good option to eat since it is about as mild as things can get, dairy can actually increase your likelihood of getting BPH over time. In fact, it was discovered that cutting out things like butter, milk, and cheese can lower your risk of ever suffering from BPH in the first place. This research basically means that even if you are a person that has never experienced any prostate issues, you are still more likely to avoid them just by eliminating dairy from your diet. While you don't have to do all that, keeping close tabs on dairy and realizing there are negative consequences of eating too much of it could potentially keep problems with an enlarged prostate at bay. Number 4. High salt intake. Another surprising food to avoid if you want to keep your prostate in check is salt. Having a high level of sodium in your body can actually cause some issues and discomfort for you, particularly in your urinary tract. Having increased sodium levels means that your body has to work a lot harder than it is used to in order to break apart and get rid of all this extra salt, which puts added strain on your kidneys. By introducing too much salt into your diet, you can increase many of the urinary tract symptoms that are closely associated with BPH too, which makes a high salt intake one of the biggest benign prostatic hyperplasia risk factors out there. Number 5. Vegetable oil. This entry can be a bit confusing, as vegetables can be really good for you when it comes to protecting your body from BPH and other prostate issues. The problem with vegetable oil, though, is that it contains a lot of fat per serving. Dietary fats, whether they are healthy for us or not, are bad for the prostate and contribute to prostate cancer risk. Be careful when cooking with vegetable oil and try to find substitutes that don't contain quite as much fat instead. Number 6. Processed meat. Did you know that daily meat consumption can more than triple your risk of suffering from an enlarged prostate later on in life? When it comes down to it, processed meat is probably the first when it comes to this too, as it comes with a lot of preservatives and other ingredients that aren't that great for us. On top of that, processed meats usually include a lot of sodium, as the salt is used to help add taste and make sure that the meat lasts. It is also usually high in fat content too, and animal fat has been found to increase the risk of prostate cancer more than almost any other type of fat. Health organizations usually list processed meat as one of the most dangerous foods that you can eat, as it can cause cancer when eaten often enough. Cutting out processed meat could be one of the best ways to reduce the risk of prostate cancer as a result. Number 7. Saturated fats. Like we said earlier, dietary fats are a really sneaky way that people's prostates tend to balloon up. Of the fats to avoid, there may not be one that is more dangerous for your health than saturated fats too, which have very little nutritional benefit. Saturated fats are usually found in processed and mass-produced foods that we should probably stay away from in the first place, and our body has a hard time using these fats. That's because these fats don't really have all that much to offer us, and as a result, our body can sometimes store them somewhere so that it doesn't have to deal with them. Saturated fats can often contribute to the enlarged prostate in this way, as your body reaches the end stages of digestion but still doesn't know what to do with all of the fat it still has left over. You can limit your saturated fat intake by avoiding butter, margarine, and making sure that you are sticking to a diet that has a sense of direction to it. Saturated fats also greatly contribute to obesity levels in people, and so there are a lot of benefits to keeping this kind of fat at arm's length whenever possible. Number 8. Alcohol. Alcohol is a unique addition to this list, as it can make your life with an enlarged prostate even worse. When you drink alcohol, your body may react by trying to produce more urine, which is why people often feel like they have to pee shortly after drinking. By doing this though, your body is going to have a harder time dealing with any other symptoms of BPH, and it may be a less than desirable situation for you to have to go through. Putting pressure on the prostate with more frequent trips to the bathroom, or even just with more urges to pee, can be damaging to your prostate, and will only make any side effects to your enlarged prostate worse. Alcohol has quite a few health drawbacks that happen when you consume enough of it, but prostate issues are a side effect that we are only now discovering within the last few years. As a result, we don't even know how bad alcohol just might be for an enlarged prostate. Number 9. Caffeine. Coffee is something that most Americans, as well as countless others across the world, probably couldn't live without. Unfortunately, one of America's favorite drinks is also something you are going to want to stay away from, and is one of the foods to avoid with enlarged prostate. In this case, it's mostly because of the caffeine in coffee, which can act as a sort of diuretic for many people. What this means is that coffee can directly impact both how often as well as how badly a person has to use the bathroom. Cutting back on your caffeine intake from things like coffee, soda, and tea can improve symptoms of BPH, and also limit the strain on your prostate too. It's worth noting that coffee itself does not affect your body in this way though, so you can still enjoy the flavor and act of drinking decaf coffee if you are okay with losing out on the caffeine. Number 10. Red meat. Red meat is a bad food for prostate enlargement, and one that can hurry the rate at which your prostate grows too. We talked earlier about how eating meat in general can more than triple your likelihood of suffering from prostate cancer when you get older, but these statistics are only more lopsided when it comes to red meat. Researchers believe that red meat is bad for the prostate because it contains a fair amount of animal fat, and that definitely could be a piece of this puzzle. On top of that, a separate study also discovered that living your life without ever eating red meat could improve your prostate health in a significant way. We still will have to see if there are more benefits to keeping red meat out of your diet, but there are encouraging signs, like other health benefits out there that don't include the prostate. This data all means that there could be some sense in distancing yourself from this food for good. What kind of foods do you avoid to keep your prostate in tip-top shape? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Here are 2 more videos you might find interesting. Feel free to choose the one you like. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and share the video with your friends. And for more interesting videos on health, subscribe to the channel.